So I started my journey with TCS with a PL SQL programmer, you're right. And then we did a lot of work on that. And then finally I got a chance to move to United States for I think 3 to 4 years. There I started learning another good technical technology called as SAS. So mantra of my continuous learning is you should not stop. You should not come back to your relaxed life. You should keep learning. The way industry is going, you should need to learn and grow. That is the only thing.
That are most companies over monitoring and underestimating or under understanding.
That is true to a certain extent. You can say out of 100 people, 50-60% people are really doing over monitoring. Why? They normally come and then they take any tool, for that matter, a Datadog, Elasticsearch, or for that Grafana. They enable everything. They enable all three signals, metrics,
Right.
logs, and traces, and they are getting everything, but they are not sure whether they are really getting their application data.
If someone who wants to make their career into the SRE world or into the observability world, what and from where he should start and what kind of certifications he should do. So, or does that certifications really matter to?
Okay, the answer is yes and no again. Again, diplomatic answer.
Hi everyone, welcome to Beyond DevOps Talk. Today's guest is someone who has truly evolved with technology over the last 2 decades, from PL SQL and SAS systems to Kubernetes, OpenTelemetry, modern SRE practices, and enterprises observability. He is Grafana champion, solutions architect at SCL Tech, content creator, mentor, and a recognized voice in the DevOps and observability community with more than 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. He has worked across automation, cloud migration, CI CD, Kubernetes, monitoring, observability, and large scale enterprise platforms, helping organizations build reliable and observable systems. Let's welcome together Mr. Bhupesh Sharma. Hi, Bhupesh. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks, Sachin. It was nice, introduction which I was hearing from you. I'm doing perfectly well, and I'm hoping that you guys are also doing perfectly all right. So
Yeah.
thanks for having me on the show. I'm really obliged for that.
Thank you. So we will start with our series here and we'll start with some of the questions which definitely our audience is interested in to know more about the observability and things. And Bhupesh, looking at your experience here, right? You have spent more than 2 decades evolving from PL/SQL and SAS systems to Kubernetes and observability engineering. Can you tell us more about your journey, background, and how you have continuously reinvented yourself while so many engineers are stay stuck in one stack?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to explain the things, and it's close to 19 years. Yeah, you're right. It's close to 2 decades. And when any technical person starts his or her journey, it is hardcore technical stuff that we do in projects. So I started my journey with TCS with a PL SQL programmer, you're right. And then we did a lot of work on that. And then finally I got a chance to move to United States for I think 3 to 4 years. There I started learning another good technical technology called as SAS. So till that point of time, there was no cloud and DevOps. You know that, right? Around 15 years ago. And then we slowly jump onto the hardcore SaaS, which is analytics technology. I became an admin and then ultimately an architect in that. And when I came back to India, that things got started evolving. For that matter, especially cloud became pretty popular, and then I thought, let's not, jump, but let's not, why not jump into the cloud, because this will give you an edge and your career can actually take a, exponential growth. So that turns out to be a very good suggestion, or you can say very good decision. And then I had to do a lot of exercise by myself, like a lot of reading and everything, and I cleared certain certifications that boost up my confidence. And then I slowly moved to the DevOps field also. And over last 6 to 7 years, whether I was working with Wipro, SAS, or HCL, it is all pure cloud and DevOps. So mantra of my continuous learning is you should not stop. You should not come back to your relaxed life. You should keep learning. The way industry is going, you should need to learn and grow. That is the only thing.
That's very inspiring because yes, seeing the industry from such a long time, like PL SQL and things, and then having such a strong motivation, the mantra which you have, I think that's very inspiring and motivating for everyone. So thank you for such a great, sharing your journey with us. So yeah, let's move on to the next one, where we, everyone is talking about monitoring and observability. And a lot of people talk about monitoring and observability like they are the same thing. People feel that there is no difference. Monitoring is also same, observability is also same. If you have to put, it in a very simplest and practical way, that what is the difference between monitoring and observability, what would be that?
So definitely it's not the same thing. There's a huge difference. And I would answer this question with the analogous of, the data scientist terminology. People used to talk about data and information. Data itself doesn't give anything, but when it in converted to information, then it gives really the meaning. So in similar lines, monitoring is giving only the telemetry data, right? Only the data, but the information on that data, the legitimate business knowledge is coming from observability. Meaning, you get all the data, you get all the dashboard, but if it is not able to resolve the problems of business, if it is not able to resolve the slow response time of your web application, then monitoring is not happening. It is so if you need to take that monitoring to that next level, it is actually the observability. So observability is something which is responsible for solving real critical production business issues rather than just monitoring and monitoring and monitoring. So that does not make any sense, right?
Right, right. Well, that's I really like analogy. Back of the mind, I was thinking that like such a like that's the quality of the experienced people. That you give such a simple analogy with the data and information, and that clear to everyone that how monitoring and observability is also relatable. So that's great. But be completely honest here with my next question. And I'm having a like quite a smile on my face while asking this question, because a lot of time that question has been asked from me also. That are most companies over monitoring and and underestimating or under understanding?
That is true to a certain extent. You can say out of 100 people, 50, 60% people are really doing over monitoring. Why? They normally come and then they take any tool for that matter, a Datadog, Elasticsearch, or for that Grafana. They enable everything. They enable all three signals, metrics,
Right.
logs, and traces. And they're getting everything, but they're not sure whether they are really getting the application data because they are pumping 100% of data that may not be required or that may be required for some people. So there's really a thin line difference what we need and what we need to filter it out. So
Exactly.
they're doing over monitoring. That is a purely waste of dollar money that they are doing. So best way is to take only thing which is really required for that application. And you can do really cardinality related analysis either on Grafana, on Datadog, or any other tool for that matter. So better to use all these optimized approach and take the data which is needed and then do the specialized monitoring rather than doing over monitoring.
So I have a one question here, that when you say that, okay, definitely a lot of companies are doing over monitoring. In that case, if I have to like go tomorrow and see in my company that, okay, what over monitoring I am doing, what kind of dashboards are not needed or what kind of widgets are not needed, is there any the step by step list down criteria or a factors, or is there any process through which I can like go and see and I can tell to my leadership that, hey, we are doing over monitoring, let's fix this up?
Yeah, definitely there are certain ways I can talk about from Grafana perspective because I work day in and day out in that. So Grafana Cloud offers you that feature. It's a very special feature. It is in Grafana Cloud, but you can implement in Grafana open source also. That with the help of your tenant analysis, you can understand how many matrices or how many logs are actually never been used for that application. So out of suppose 100 matrices, only 20 are used. So you can definitely those 80 are not needed.
Exactly.
So you can filter out those 80 things in the Prometheus configuration, the scraping configuration. You can filter out those things. So that is really possible and available in Grafana Cloud and Grafana open source. So you can use that. Other things, definitely you can create certain dashboards that are really only required for your specific application rather than creating again hell lot of dashboard that is not giving any proper sense. So
Correct.
Grafana Cloud and cardinality is another thing which you can check. Let me give you one more example. Suppose you are checking logs for users like a log from Sachin, log from Bhupesh, and so on. So rather than checking logs from users, because today you have 100 users, tomorrow it may be 1,000, it may be 100,000. So
Right.
better to check logs from an endpoint specific,
Yeah.
like for web endpoint. So that will reduce your log count, reduce the metrics, and that will increase your cardinality. So that is another way that you can, automate, or you can say wisely use your data. So that is, there are a couple of things that I've talked about, but there are so many things that you can do to make your data pretty important and optimal rather than pumping everything.
Yeah. So that's very nice that yes, like understanding the metrics first of all, that okay, which one is exactly used or not, because a lot of time you use a custom metrics too, and you are like unnecessary paying for that and like adding up the stuffs. So overall, like yes, doing that cardinality and understanding your metrics will really help us to see that what exactly you are over monitoring. Okay,
Correct.
so in your opinion, how many companies truly have observability maturity today? And what separates a mature engineering organizations from the rest?
Yeah, very good question. And this is actually being the need of the hour, I would say. Uh, See, definitely the mature companies like Walmart, Apple, and all those things, they are in a very good shape. And companies like the mid tier, they are still trying to be in that phase. So maturity model, what is maturity model? Maturity model is when we are actually resolving business problems, like the transaction got timed out. Are you able to eradicate or resolve that problem with the help of monitoring or observability tool? That is called as you are a mature organization.
Right,
But if you are not able to resolve that problem, you are still searching on how much CPU, how much memory onto the infra side. You are little bit, not mature. So your maturity model or level is little bit low. You are, in low side. So there are so many companies who are actually now, knitting this last piece, the tracing part, where if any connection got timed out, then you will quickly go to that timeout transaction to your logs, and ultimately if it is related to DB, then you can go to that. So it's a 360-degree loop. So that is where we say the this company or this project is actually pretty mature on the observability maturity model. Other people, if they are not mature, they're simply doing monitoring,
yeah,
but there's no marriage between metrics and logs and traces.
right.
So there's no, this is where the thin line difference between maturity level, right?
Yeah, I think that's really, explained in a very well way, like with the maturity model explanation and then connecting to that. So I think that will definitely help a lot of our audience.
Yeah.
So a lot of days, a lot of time, like today, everyone is talking about open telemetry, and people are like, okay, all the matrices and things are coming like via using the open telemetry and the stuffs. So, what do you think? Like, is the open telemetry is going to be, or genuinely, is it the future standard for observability, or we are still in the early hype phase right now?
Okay, so the answer of this question, it's a tricky question, is both yes and no.
Yeah,
First of all, I go with the positive side. Yes, it is a standard feature and it is being used heavily, not only in open source, it is used by the companies like Grafana, Datadog. Now, why I'm saying this? Because if you see their agents, now I'm going a little bit more technical. Your Grafana agent called as Alloy, which is the based on total open telemetry.
right.
Your New Relic agent, it is again based on open telemetry. Your Elasticsearch, so actually now OpenTelemetry not going to the companies. Companies are going back to the OpenTelemetry because now customers are more smart. If they want, if they're already using OpenTelemetry based framework, so their agent should also be like that. So there's a vendor agnostic, tool agnostic thing. Now I would answer the other part of it. It is a little bit tricky also because there are certain technical, complications that whenever we implement OpenTelemetry, like filtrations or the renaming, all those things are not so straightforward the way we were having in different agents. So it's a yes and no for both for this question.
Correct. Because yeah, I too feel that yes, like as you said, right, that it's a standard and it's a framework, right? So a lot of time it gets fit into, and a lot
Yes,
of time
yes,
it doesn't get fit into. So we can't say that yes, it will be a truly adapted mechanism, but definitely it will be one of the strongest one where like if you are building something new, so you can take this in a consideration. So without making a lot of changes, we can adapt to this, right?
correct,
So
correct.
yeah. So how about like different tools? Like we have the Grafana, we have the Datadog, New Relic, and other things. So how do you see these platform based tools which are coming for the observability, how they are going to evolve in the next 5 years?
Yeah. So you have already talked about the top five tools that are there in the Magic Quadrant: Datadog, Grafana, Elasticsearch, and Dynatrace and AppDynamics. So these tools are really pretty competitive, and the future is really bright because everyone is using their AI agent in their observability. If you talk about Grafana, they have a Grafana assistant. The Datadog has Bits AI, and so on. So everyone is investing heavily into the AI world of it. And since they are already the leaders, and they will eventually be there for next few years for sure. And they're using all the latest and the greatest technologies like OpenTelemetry, MCP, and AI. So definitely, this is the future for observability.
Nice. I think that definitely, answers a lot of things with respect to my next question, where like I was going to, where my next question basically is regarding, will AI going to, will AI going to replace the observability engineers, I would ask. Or I would put it in this way, that what is or how AI will play, a grateful impact in the coming years. Well, what do you
So I
think?
got your question, and this is again a very debatable topic by multiple people, different industry leaders. You talk about Sundar Pichai and all those people. They've already talked about AI is not gonna take your jobs unless you get blend with it. So human in loop is always will always be there, and if you are that human, then you will be there in the industry.
Right.
And if you're really running away from learning things and AI and all those, then you can be that person who can be get kicked out. So better to be a person who is always in the loop, and you are that human which will always be there. Because there are a couple of scenarios where Terraform script has really run down everything and deleted everything, right? Recently for a big customer, I don't know, give you the name, but AI agent give the task and then Terraform delete and
Yep.
deleted everything. So the last but not the least, human in loop is always the key, and it has been already being talked about from Sundar Pichai also, right? Popular leader, not Sundar Pichai. I mean, so many leaders have talked about it.
Correct. Oh yeah, that's true. And like I think you have also put up a lot of videos on your channel with respect to the AI related observability, that how AI is helping and how you can create your agents and things. I have watched
Yeah,
like
again, if you answer, if I answer this thing, I'm also trying to learn things. So if I give it back to the society, that will be really helpful. So I am just trying to be that human, right? Human in loop.
yeah, that's nice. Okay. So now another question, with respect to something, where we would like to ensure, or where we would like to teach our audience about engineering and incident management and how exactly the process works. So being into the industry over the 2 decades, you must have experienced multiple outages, multiple issues, and a P1 and a critical stuff. What exactly are the signals which you have learned, where the monitoring existed, observability is good, everything is good, but still nobody actually understood the signals and we had a major outage?
Yeah. So I'll take an example of my fintech customer 3 years ago. I mean, this is one of the instance. I mean, we were having issues on Kubernetes. That there was a lot of spikes that were there in one of the pod, the web application pod, right? And then we were searching here and there from the logs, and nobody actually looked into the Grafana spikes that were coming, and even alerts are also coming. So we were a little bit ignorant. When I say we as a team, so monitoring was there, but ignorance was also there, right?
Right.
So if we can get an alert specific to that issue for a particular group or a person, then those issues can be mitigated. But again, that is giving a signal that you need to check in that particular namespace, that particular log. There's a spike over there, and then you will get 50% of issue get resolved. So to answer this, to cut short this answer, the AI and monitoring will not resolve your 100% problem. It
Right.
will give you an idea. It will give you a hint that why my transaction got timed out, and ultimately human in loop will be there. You need to go to that logs, and you need to get into the skin of the issue, and ultimately you will be there who will be resolving that problem, right? Still we are little bit early to say that everything will be resolved by AI agents. It will be difficult, right?
Right.
Because complex systems, when we have multi-cloud architecture where Azure is also there, and then third-party systems are there, then it is difficult to identify and resolve those issues automatically by AI agent. So
Correct.
50% AI, 50% human in loop, and then sometimes the major issue gets lost somewhere unless you put your brain, right.
No, that's right. Like, and I think, like, you have rightly said here that ignorance of monitoring is also a biggest mistake, because
Yeah.
if a lot of time we do this, we create monitors, we create dashboards and things, but we create it for a day and we just think that, okay, these alerts will come and we'll just keep a thing. But it's not necessary that, okay, every day you are getting alerts when there are spikes. But if, like, as you mentioned, that from your experience, there was a spike and no one noticed, and that led to an outage. And definitely, if you put AI also on that, it will only give you the hint. And but if you keep on ignoring that AI alerts
Correct.
too, so it will not help you. Yeah.
Correct.
So, so if someone who wants to make their career into the SRE world or into the observability world, what and from where he should start and what kind of certifications he should do. So, or does that certifications really matter to?
Okay. The answer is yes and no again. Again, diplomatic answer. So, yes, it will definitely help to give your personal confidence that I am as your administrator, I am Kubernetes certified. That will give you an edge for certain candidates who have not done it. Okay. But learning is really, really important, and anybody can start from anything. Like I came from a SaaS admin. Uh, Pick any one cloud. Okay. Don't run around for any cloud, multiple cloud. Pick AWS, which is the easiest one, which I feel, and then pick any open source related things. Open source Azure DevOps, open source monitoring tools like Grafana. Why I'm Grafana champion? Because I was not having any money to, take the Datadog and the Dynatrace. So if
Correct.
any new person who wants to learn DevOps and SRE, pick all those things which are free and available in the market, right? And learn AWS, take that's 1 year subscription and learn everything. Cloud AWS, monitoring Grafana, and then you have so many things like GitHub Actions also free as your DevOps. So there are so many things if you really want to learn things free of cost.
Yeah.
But nowadays Gen Z people needs to do invest that time to learn things.
Correct. So, and how, what do you think, like, that how much importance is there of certifications? A lot of people, they ask me, so Sachin, should I do this certification or not? What is there in India, the certification? Like, I think this is also an overhyped statement or what, but
Yeah.
people
So if
say,
no, that is right. I mean, if I am taking any interview for anyone, I will never look at the certification. I'm very blunt. I will ask whatever is needed for the project, whatever is needed for the job description,
correct,
whether that is coming. Anyone can write as your solution architect, but have you done any migration? Have you really implemented any observability platform as your? That is something which I will ask. I'll ask real questions. So sometime it may help if an interviewer is looking for certified person who they will give it to client. Sometime client also needs it. So the answer is yes and no. If you have money, you have knowledge, go for certification. If you don't have money to invest in certification, not needed.
correct.
Nobody is saying that you should be certified, right? But having a certification will give you an edge, right? So again, the answer is yes and no.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I always say to my audience too that certification is just a proof of knowledge. So
Correct, correct.
it doesn't make you feel that, okay, you will get qualified or you will get selected in the interview. And as you said, right, that it all depends on your skills. Like certification will just give you one extra points. Okay.
Yeah.
So the last question, probably for our audience, like with the limited time we have with you, we definitely have a lot of questions for you. But how do you feel, or what do you feel that how the observability and monitoring world specifically will evolve over the next few years? And if you have to give one advice to all the young engineers or the SREs, what would be that advice?
Yeah. So next few years would be definitely bright and bit challenging, challenging from users' perspective because they need to pull up their socks for any new things that is coming to the market, whether it is Grafana, Datadog, or a new Relic, or for that matter, because every company is now using AI ops flavors to do auto remediate the tickets. Okay, to
Yeah,
integrate things to MCP servers, to integrate things to AI agents. So better to learn any one tool end to end with all these flavors, and you are in a good shape, right? So don't run here and there. Don't get impatient. Pick any one tool and see what is there on their product page, and try to learn everything from that.
great.
Yeah.
That's a great advice, and thank you for that, for that advice to our audience. So yeah, we'll move on to the next round of this, or next, I would say, talk of the series is like rapid fire round.
Okay.
So the rapid fire round is something which we have brought up from our audience for this talk itself, and I think you are our first guest to go with
Okay.
that.
So
So
I'm the testing person. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
so I'll keep it very simple, and like you have to just choose one of them. So we'll have it like a rapid fire and we'll start it now. Grafana or Datadog?
Grafana for sure.
Metrics, logs, or traces? Choose one.
Matrix, my favorite.
Kubernetes, blessing or headache?
Blessing, I would say.
One overrated DevOps buzzword.
AI ops.
Sorry?
AI ops.
AIOps. One underrated engineering skill.
Terraform.
One thing engineers pretend to understand but actually don't.
Kubernetes issues.
AI for operations, exciting or dangerous?
Exciting for me.
One tool every engineer should learn immediately.
Grafana for sure.
Biggest cause of alert fatigue.
It can be multiple, but yeah, over pushing of data.
One habit that made you successful.
Perseverance.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bhupesh, for doing this rapid round. I hope you like the questions.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
yeah. So again, we would like to thank you and we would like to let our audience know that technology will continue to evolve and tools will continue to change. AI will continue to disrupt industries, but one thing that always stay relevant is the ability to learn continuously, adapt quickly, and deeply understand systems. Today's conversation was not just about the observability or DevOps. It was about growth, engineering, mindset, resilience, and staying future ready. A huge thanks to you, Mr. Bhupesh Sharma, for sharing such deep insights, real industry experiences, and valuable guides for the community.
Thanks
And
a lot, Sachin, for having me on the show. Sorry, I cut short you,
yeah,
but yeah, it was nice talking to you and great.
yeah. And to everyone watching or listening, keep learning, keep building, and keep growing beyond DevOps. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.